Hi everyone. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your morning to come spend it together with some friends and some staff members here from the middle school. I first of all want to introduce myself. My name is Kim Crockley and I'm the principal here. It is the best job in the world. Middle schoolers make us laugh every day. I'm sure they make you do other things at home too, other than laugh, but it is just a wonderful place to be. And you will hear that resonate as you listen to our counselors share with you today just how much they care about students and your children, young adolescents in general. They are a wealth of information. I learn something every single time I come to one of these sessions. I look forward to it as a mom and as an educator, so I know you'll at least have some takeaways today and just a chance to be with others and feel normal. You know, the things that you're going through, you'll hear others are going through just those same things. So I would like to thank PTO for facilitating this event, specifically Carrie and Laura for spearheading it. You've done a wonderful job planning and collaborating with our counselors. So I'm just going to invite you to sit back and relax and participate, and we'll have a lot of fun this morning.
Okay, mention the food table one more time.
Oh, yeah. If you did not hear, we have a food table. We'd love for you to, at any point, stop over and take some items. All right, so with that, I'm actually just going to turn it over to Mrs. Wallach, Bobby Wallach, who is one of our counselors. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Bobby Wallach, and I'm one of the 3 counselors in our building. And we also have Courtney Wood and Monica Strebe. And I am so grateful for our counseling department. They are outstanding. I couldn't ask for better colleagues. And the administrators as well. And we cannot forget Rachel Bennett, our school psychologist. She's kind of hiding back there, but we're going to get her involved. But as Kim said, oh, and Mr. Gans, Jamie Gans is back there as one of our principals as well. And just so grateful to be with this guidance admin team. And I know everybody is so child-centered and works together. And I feel very fortunate to be here. So I want to know who is here with us. So raise your hand if you have a 6th grade student right now. Okay, good. Looks like almost half of you. 7th grade students? Oh, maybe there's more. And how about an 8th? And how about multiple middle schoolers? Anyone here? Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay.
I think we have some Eastwoods parents.
I was wondering about that. Anyone who has, your oldest is still at Eastwoods and you're just kind of looking ahead to the middle school years, well, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. You can survive this, I promise. In fact, I am surviving it. I'm still in the midst of surviving it because I have a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old at home. So even though I have many years of experience as a teacher and a counselor in middle school, it is nothing compared to what they are like at home and trying to parent them. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. My husband and I talk about this all the time. There's such a balance there between, you know, how involved you get with every little thing that's going on in your life, and then when do you need to take a step back? Because there definitely is time. There are times that you need to take a step back and let them kind of empower them to make decisions, problem solve, and then you're there to support them every step of the way in discussions. But the best advice I got before my kids were teenagers, a very wise woman said to me, you know, when they're little, you put them in timeout when they act up. But when they're in middle school and they act up, you put yourself in timeout. And it really works. And it was, you know, kind of life-changing because there were times where you could just feel everything escalating with the kids, and then you just remove yourself from the moment. Let everybody calm down, and then revisit the situation afterwards. So that is why we are discussing social situations and finding balance, as I mentioned. Mrs. Wood will be talking about that. And you may have a little bit of stress and anxiety raising teenagers, and Mrs. Strebe will address ways for you and your teenager to manage your stress and anxiety. Middle schoolers have rapid development, not only physically that we could see, but emotionally and socially through those middle school years. And so we're really focusing today on your social situations. We're not here holding their hand all day at school. So how do we, from home, support them when they come home and tell us things that are happening at school? You know, that's why we're here as school counselors and as teachers and administrators. We're here to support our students and be a caring adult in their lives. And then how can you continue that at home as well? So we're going to really focus on the social aspect of our adolescents. So here are some pictures of our middle schoolers during lunch this year. We actually had a mix-it-up activity, which was really fun. We encouraged them to sit with others during the lunchtime, and we gave them little conversation starters to get them talking to others, and it was a fun activity. Okay, so the first thing I want all of you to know is and you might find this hard to believe, but if your child's a little bit moody at home, that is normal and developmentally appropriate. You're not doing anything wrong. And I think about discussions that my husband and I have where he says, the neighbor's kids would never act like this. I'm like, oh yes they do, behind closed doors. Think about it, kids are holding it together all day long in every aspect of their life. And when they get home, it's a safe place for them, and sometimes they just kind of let it out. And so if you're finding that your child is a little less affectionate towards you than they used to be, testing their limits with you, just know that that is absolutely age appropriate. And there's nothing wrong. It's up for us, the adults, to be calm and relax, which we'll be hearing about later, and to really just to not get all excited with them and be the voice of reason and talk things through with them. You may find that they're focusing more on themselves, and they're focusing more on their images and their looks and their clothes and their peers than they were when they would have the relationship with you when they were elementary students as a parent-child relationship. You might see that they have more stress because now their workload at school has increased and they have some pressures in their social situations. So they just have more stress in their lives as well. And sometimes the number one, sometimes they have high expectations for each other, but then they have a lack of confidence and they're trying to work that out too. Again, very age appropriately and developmentally appropriate. So if you're seeing any of this in your house, it is normal. So there have been studies and researchers that have studied adolescents. And so would you mind clicking on the first one? And at your table, there should be 2 or 3 yellow papers. And so this is from Search Institute. And they studied, how can we foster caring, healthy, and responsible adults when they're adolescents? What can we do? And they actually created a list. One side is ages 8 through 12, and if you turn it over, the other side is ages 12 through 18. So one might be more appropriate for the 6th and 7th graders, and more for the 8th graders and the high schoolers. And they made a list of 40 developmental assets, or developmental building blocks. And for students, it found that if your child has 31 or more of those, then they are more likely to be healthy, caring, and responsible as adults. So it's kind of fun to go through the list, and hopefully you'll feel like you're doing a lot of things right when you see that list. And then maybe some things to reflect on as well. And at the top it says support. It really proves that the more caring adults that a child has in their life, the more successful they will be down the line. And you can see that it has family support. The child has adult support, number 3, from adults other than his or her parents. They have caring neighbors is number 4. A caring school climate. So they have relationships with teachers and peers that are caring and encouraging. And that is our goal here. We even polled the students to see how they feel in that area, because we try and foster a climate of positivity and caring and kindness. And so we have the results of what the students said in that area. And then how important their peer interactions are as well. So we're going to put this slideshow on our website, and you'll be able to click on this, and you can read more about the study, and then you'll have access to the checklist, and you can do that when you have a little bit more time. But these are the results. Oh, do you mind going back to? Okay, so we took a poll of our students. So as you can see, we have 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. And we asked them, do you feel you have built positive relationships with other students at Hudson Middle School? And we are very pleased with the results. The blue is yes, and the red is no. So overwhelmingly, over the mid 90% and above feel that they have built positive relationships with other students. We want to reach 100% of them, so this information we can reflect on and what we can do to reach all students. We do have an advisory group one time a week where we have, that's to foster relationships with the adults in the building and with others. So they simply talk about social emotional well-being. During that time, it's not graded, it's not a class, but it's a time for them to connect with one another and with the adults in the building. So we're pleased to see these results. And then this one asks, do you feel like you've built positive relationships with staff members at HMS? And again, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, all look very similar. Overwhelmingly, majority of the students said yes, they do. And we really want to reach all the students, so we're going to focus on. We have teams, which is really, it's set up so that we can talk every week. The administrators and the counselors talk with the teachers every week so that we can, support all our students and reach them. And then on the developmental assets sheet, it also talks about, it's more of the internal assets. It talks about resiliency and being able to solve problems on their own. And so we ask students, do you feel like you have the skills to handle social situations? So we have 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So their choices were yes, I feel like I have the skills to do it. And that was the blue, and that was over 75% for all 3 grades. The other one, the yellow, was sometimes, but sometimes I get support from a trusted adult. And so that was the other large chunk of the graph. And we're pleased to see that because we always encourage students to come and talk to parents, teachers, counselors, administrators if they need any support. And then a sliver of the no, which is what we're trying to reflect and help those students. So overwhelmingly, we are pleased with our results, that we have the culture here for the students to thrive. So all the studies,
I'm so sorry. I just wanted all of you to know that this slideshow will be available on our website. I saw some of you taking photos, which is great, but we want to make sure you have the information accessible easily. So we'll have that soon.
Thank you, Dr. Kathleen. Okay, so this is overall, how can we as adults support our middle school students? This is based on surveys that have been taken and studies, research, and as I said, number 1, the caring adult, home, school, and community. I've read so many articles that say spend quality time alone with just one-on-one. If you have 3 children, just try and carve out a little bit of one-on-one time with each one. And I know it's hard to do because we're all so busy, but it really makes a difference. My son and I just were running errands, and we just had, in the car, we just had the best talk. This was a couple days ago, and I don't think he would have confided in me in different things if other members of the family were all sitting around. It was just it was just more of a safe space. So I would encourage you to just have some alone time with each one of your children individually. To always support and encourage them, to have the positive talks. And I always say that if there's something important that you want to teach your child, it's not like one big talk, oh phew, I'm so glad that discussion's over, but hundreds of talks through the years where you are just talking about that topic here and there over years. And just to drop everything and talk to your children when they're ready to talk. My parents did this for me my entire life. They are both 80 years old, and I still pick up the phone and call them. They will drop everything, and if my mom answers, my dad will get on the other line, and they both talk to me at the same time. And I really feel like that has helped me be the person I am. They're unconditional support through all these years. And then if your child does make mistakes, it's okay. You talk them through it, you encourage them, you tell them this one thing does not define you, this one moment, and just focus on their strengths and how they can handle it in the future. I love this article. It's linked to our slideshow, and it's called 10 Tips for Raising Resilient Kids. So you might want to check that out when you have some time later. Okay, so now it is time for me to get you involved a little bit. We noticed that through the years, our guidance office, we try and empower the students to be strong, to be resilient, to be able to work things through. And one day we just put them all together kind of in one spot. So just messages that we always give, which is, think before you talk, test text or post. Don't give away your power to somebody else. If you're not going to say something nice, don't even say it. That be tactful or say nothing. You know, one thing I say with students a lot is you cannot control other people. You can only control how you react to the other people. And so we talk about strategies of handling some situations that might be difficult at this age. So that's number 9. Number 10, you teach others how they can treat you. So if you're accepting something that you're uncomfortable with over and over and over, you're teaching them that it's okay for them to do that. And I love number 8, to put your time and energy into people who are deserving and genuine. And the students know. They know. I'll say, well, who, you know, if they're talking about somebody and a situation that's making them uncomfortable, you know, like, so think of your friends. Who really cares about you? And who really wants to see you happy? And they know. And so I say, you know, maybe it's time to put more time and energy into those students. So to get you involved, each table has your pink sheets. It's actually this list of 10 empowering statements. But then there's an envelope with a different scenario. So what I'd like you to do is take out the little scenario, read it to your table, and I'm going to give you about 2 to 3 minutes to discuss how you would parent your child, what you would say to your child to support them if they were going through a situation such as this.
Your middle school son of your friends may be like still around.
Specifically wanted the child to so it's not like something
It sounds like it's something
right. So that would never happen to you.
I don't know if that's so but I have that one like
this happens with middle school boys. You have really yeah, I mean this has happened through through time. I've been doing this for many years, and this is and even my son is in 8th grade. I was talking about that with him. So he says, there's a kid at my table that does high all the time. She speaks like that. But I was thinking, what about the child at the table? So this is what I noticed. Most of the friends there, it's funny. Oh, yes. More sensitive to me. And it's not funny to them. So, well, I don't know and then I talked to my kids at your table. Everyone's laughing. It's not funny. Then you need to see it. So that's why sometimes you might be able to yeah, it's all confidential. I won't talk to my kids. Okay, you have about 10 more seconds. I'm also going to ask Okay, I am really impressed with this group. You all get pluses. Very excellent discussions going on. And I'm really sorry to shorten your discussion time. I would love one participant from each table to stand up, read the little scenario to the group, and talk about how you would support your child if this was happening to him or her. So, table 1. No, it's you. Thank you. Do you want the microphone? Okay.
Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. So our situation is your middle school daughter confides in you that she told her best friend's secret to other students. Her best friend is embarrassed and upset with your daughter. How can you support your daughter through this situation? So we talked a little bit about, ultimately we want to have, our child talk to her maybe former best friend about what happened. But before we do that, we wanted to find out a little bit, so what's been going on with you and your best friend? We're assuming that she's come to us because she feels upset by something that's happened. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm being recorded. Wow. I'm trying to think here. We talked about, what is a secret. You can have that conversation with your daughter. You sort of enter into a contract. When someone trusts you enough to give you a secret, you can talk about what that means. It means keeping it to yourself, and there are ramifications if you divulge a secret. So that it's good to have those kind of conversations. Also, how would you feel if you told someone a secret and then someone else found out? But I think that listening and talking to your child, and then of course helping her figure out how she's going to, where she's going to meet her friend, how they're going to talk about it, be supportive that way.
Outstanding. You did a great job. I wrote all of these based on what I hear in the guidance office and just my own life as a parent. And I really wanted to write one where your child makes a mistake, has a little error in judgment, because it happens and it's okay. And we can support them through that. Your discussion with your table was outstanding. And again, just even if they make a mistake, it's okay to talk about that. What did you learn from that? How would you do it in the future? Did you apologize to your friend and she won't talk to you? Well, you can't control if she's going to accept your apology or not. But you can only handle, you can only control how you react to whatever she does the next step. So, did any other group have that same scenario? Okay, do you mind sharing at this time, since we're on that one? Gets the mic.
We had a similar discussion, that you guys had some better stuff than we had in our discussion. One of the things that you guys didn't touch on that we were talking about was when we were talking about owning up to it and talking to the friend and recognizing that she may not want to be your friend anymore. Then maybe taking it a step further and going to the people that she told and said, I shouldn't have told you this, as another sort of layer of owning up to the mistake. So that's probably the thing.
That's good.
That's good. That's it.
Outstanding. Thank you. All right. So the next, can I call on you as the next group?
Your middle school child wants to stay home from school because he feels he did not study enough for a big test. He says all his friends get straight A's and he needs an extra day of studying to be able to compete with them. He feels as if he would not be accepted into the group of boys if his grades were not high enough. Do you allow your son to stay home? What do you say to him? So I was relying on my veteran mom. I thought I had my hands full with 2. She has 5 kids, so she's already in the middle school game. But we both agreed we would not let them stay home, obviously, because of lack of preparedness for a test. But talk about, focusing on don't worry about your friends as much as worrying about yourself and your grades, and always being prepared and following your timeline as you are getting ready for tests and preparing in school.
That's outstanding, and that is what we as counselors would recommend to parents. Sometimes I hear a student wants to stay home because they need to study, or a student wants to stay home because emotionally they're overwhelmed. And we always recommend they need to come to school. We are here to support them. You can't start this enabling them to avoid situations that are uncomfortable to them. It's really important that they get to school. That's why we're here, where a lot of conversations can take place. If they don't feel prepared for a test, the counselors can help, maybe talk to the teacher, maybe figure out strategies and supports for the student. Or even if they're feeling anxious about a situation, they can come in and talk to us and we can give them strategies to get through their day. But we always encourage parents to send their child to school. And usually it's not as bad as they think once they get here, and we have all the caring adults to support them. Did any other table have the same one? Okay, yes. You did?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add to that one?
Well, we did talk about, do other students judge kids on their grades? Or is that more an internal, the child feels other people are judging? What is your answer to that?
That's a wonderful question. Does anyone have any?
Because I feel it's an internal.
Yes, I do too. I really do.
Okay.
They think that it's there, but it really isn't. And they're getting the pressure because of the peers. Like that one slide, they care so much about their interactions with their peers. They're feeling the pressure based on what they're seeing from their peers. So I do believe it's more internal as well. And that's for the adults in their life to calm them down and talk them through it and reassure them. So that's a very good point.
Yes.
All right, outstanding so far. Okay, let's keep going to table 3. Oh, that's right. Okay. But I don't think we heard from this table. So.
Your middle school son tells you that the friends that he eats lunch with to joke like to joke around with one another. Sometimes the other boys say things about him that make him feel embarrassed while trying to make the other students laugh. His friends then say, "Lighten up, it's a joke." How can you empower your son to work through this, and what do you tell them?
We said a couple things. If it felt really heavy and serious, that they should definitely go talk to a trusted adult, see the guidance department, that they could confidentially help them navigate the table, possibly talk to the kids if needed. We talked about having the person kind of understand if it felt light to them, to kind of blow it off and change the subject, talk about something different. And then one suggestion we talked about was to say in a very serious tone, "Stop, it's not funny," and hope that could solve the problem.
Outstanding, outstanding. Did any other table have that same scenario? So I wrote that one from many years of being a middle school counselor and also having an 8th grade son, that's sometimes how boys interact with each other. They just want to say things and in a joking way about each other, hoping everybody else laughs. And a lot of boys think it's funny and they do it and it doesn't bother them the least bit. But I've just seen through the years there are some students who are a little extra sensitive and it bothers them. So we as parents need to be able to talk that through with our sons and maybe if it happens with daughters too. As school counselors, we are very comfortable talking about strategies for students in that situation. And as was mentioned here, I would say to the student, do you want me to talk to any of, if you told them to stop, and do you want me to talk to any of the boys? And just mention it. And if I do have that conversation with boys, I'll say, when you're joking with your table and everyone's laughing and then all of a sudden you see somebody's not laughing anymore. Their facial expressions have changed. Their body language has changed. They're not talking as much. You need to pick up on that. It's, you've crossed the line. So that is just one of those kind of common middle school situations for boys that I've seen. Okay, and next table.
First was your middle school child comes home from school upset that her best friend since elementary school sat with a different group of girls at lunch and left her out. How can you support your daughter through this situation?
So we talked about that this has actually happened. I have 2 girls, and that it's happened before to our kids. And that there were a couple of scenarios. And Lynn brought up actually something that her son did that I really liked. That was, I'll let her talk about. But one of the things I said that I would encourage my girls to seek out other friends. Not to turn your back on those girls. Certainly, you don't want to turn your back. But just, I like what you said. Seek out someone that's deserving of you.
Yes.
Just go and don't be mad. Just go and find some other girls.
Absolutely.
Go find someone to sit with. Don't get upset. Just go and find someone else. But I also like what Lynn said.
So he had a friend that was a girl who was really upset by this, and he pointed out that just because you don't sit together at lunch doesn't mean you're not friends. That maybe you can talk to them and see or do something else with them. Because I think there's a lot of emphasis on where you sit at lunch, and it doesn't define who your friends are.
Absolutely, I love that. All right, I'm really impressed with this group. I know this table, sure, and I know this table has the same scenario.
Some of you might have had Mrs. Rourke as a teacher in 4th grade, or your child had Mrs. Rourke. She told me something wonderful, and especially for young children, 4th graders. She said by 8th grade, friends are definitely going to change. There's going to be a mix-up. She said, have your child touch a lot of friends groups so they can move in and out easily of each group through sports, through many different things. And so anybody with that 4th, 5th grader, make sure they're touching lots of different groups because it does help.
I agree with that. Outstanding advice. Anyone from this table like to share?
We kind of said the same thing, seeking out other friends, but we also talked about friendship. There's some fluidness to it, that they're going to get in classes with other kids, they're going to do projects with other kids, do sports with other kids, so there's going to be different kids coming out of different friend groups, in and out, and you kind of, again, just have to develop a lot of friendships.
Very well said.
A comment at the end that kind of fits all of the, say what you would say at the end, because I thought that was very wise. About Jess and him.
We've had this scenario happen in our house several times, and I try actually not to give my opinion on this. I try to see what they feel like their options are. I also have this happen with my 2nd grader, which actually is much more difficult to manage, I feel like, than the middle school. There's a lot more options for the middle schoolers. But I really have learned a lot to just lick my lips and just try to get their opinions and see what they feel like their opinions would be, rather than jump on in my opinions.
And that is so well said, and that's what we talk about with the balance. And I noticed that if something's going on with one of my children's in their lives, sometimes just asking them about it every day, the first thing when they walk in, is just putting energy, almost like negative energy into it. If they're not talking about it, if they're managing themselves and getting through, then, I'm thinking maybe I should take a step back from that and let them continue to build their skills and their resiliency. So it is such a good point. All of you, I am so impressed with this group, did an outstanding job with that. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Courtney Wood, and she's talking about finding balance, continuing that conversation. Thank you.
We're also being videoed.
Okay, so I am Courtney Wood. I am lucky enough to work with 7th grade this year. And if you don't know, we actually loop with the students. So we start with them in 6th grade and then we move through middle school with them. So we have the opportunity to go through middle school many times over the years. So when we talked about what we wanted to present to you guys today, what we wanted to share, we felt finding balance was a really important topic for our students as well as for our parents and ourselves. Because we have many conversations in our own office about our own lives and trying to find that balance. And when I started researching this topic, a lot of the articles centered on the balance between work and home. And I felt that oversimplified what was really going on. So when I started thinking about myself and my family, I'm really trying to find a balance between what needs to be done, like cleaning the bathrooms, and then what I want to do. Okay, like having dinner with my friends, which doesn't happen nearly as often as I would like to do. And then also not over-scheduling ourselves so much that we can't be present in the moment. Okay, so that's what we're gonna focus our conversation on. So I want you guys to take a minute and just think back to last week. Think about what you were involved in. Maybe you helped out at our PTO holiday lunch, so you did, thank you. Maybe you had a book club, maybe you met friends, maybe you went and worked out. Okay, so think about all of the commitments that you personally had. And then I want you to think about what your family was involved in last week. And then what part did you play in that? Did you carpool and drive your kids around? Were you in charge of the snack for the soccer game? Did you personally have any downtime? So downtime is not, folding laundry, like did you? Downtime would be, did you have time to read a book, read a magazine, watch TV? Did your family have downtime? Did your kids have downtime? And were you able to be present during these activities? Not multitasking, but really in the moment. Okay. So this is going to be a lot of self-reflection. Okay, so now think about your mood over the last week. Our moods change constantly. So kind of, thinking about last week when you were involved in these different activities, whether it was driving your kids around or doing something for yourself, when were you feeling happy? When were you feeling overwhelmed? When were you feeling calm? And I think this is a good month to reflect on this because December, I know my calendar is the busiest this time of year. Okay, so here's our first activity. Everybody has pens on your table. You also have little blank pieces of white paper. So I want you to think about, so everybody has a middle school age, child. So you might have like a 11, 12-year-old right now. I want you to think 20 years down the road, when they're adults, maybe they're starting their own families. You're sitting around at the table. When they think back to middle school, how would you want them to describe you? What 3 words would you hope that they would use when they think about you? So go ahead and write those words down. What do you want them to describe you? How do you want them to describe you? So they're like in their early 30s, thinking back to middle school. I'll go back to some of our feeling words, if that helps. So I'm not going to have you share those words, but what I would like you to do is take that piece of paper home, maybe put it on your vanity mirror, put it in your car, put it in your purse, and just in the morning, every day, kind of reflect back to these words as you begin your day. Because most of us probably didn't write down overwhelmed, or stressed, or yelling, okay? And we all have those moments, we all have those feelings. But I know, just kind of reflecting on this as we were putting this presentation together, it's like, I would want my child to describe me as happy and present and maybe fun, just, so kind of think about that, as you go about your day. And like I said, this is a busy month. And then, what do you want their memories to be? So many times I think, especially with social media, we see what everybody else is doing. I see kids or, families are going to the Akron Zoo to see the lights, and then they're on the Polar Express, and then their breakfast with Santa, and I'm just like, how are they doing all this? Like, how are they fitting this all into a weekend? And you kind of feel like you have to keep up with that, and you want to put your own pictures on Instagram or Facebook so everybody knows you're a happy family too, and you're doing things with your children. But I had a day off in October. I think it was that Friday after conferences we had off, and so I'm excited. I have a 3.5-year-old, and I'm making all these plans in my head. Should we go to the zoo? Should we meet friends at Cafe Au Play? Should we go to the aquarium? Like, what should we do? And then I asked him. I said, Grayson, what do you want to do? Mommy's off on Friday. I want to play with my train table. He wanted to stay home. So sometimes we have to kind of sit back and think, okay, are we doing this for ourselves? Are we doing this, to make ourselves feel like we're involved, or, do our children, do our students really want to be doing this? So are you spending your time on the right things? Because time is all you have. So I know middle school is crazy. My child's only 3.5, so I have yet to hit middle school. But I know things are busy. We can get overwhelmed easily, overscheduled easily, but we won't get this time back. And I know I think that to myself a lot when my child is having a tantrum. And and then I talk to parents of older kids, and they're like, oh, I wish my kids were that little again. And I think, really, do you want mine for a few days? But when we're in the moment, sometimes we're kind of wishing time away, but let's, try to really live in the moment. So this is the same survey. We sent it out to all of our students that Mrs. Wallach was talking about. So we asked our students if they felt overscheduled with activities after school. So that would be their practices, their meetings, their clubs, activities, and I was a little surprised. I thought more of them would say yes, but this is good because this is their perspective, okay? So the red is no, the orangey color is sometimes, and then the blue is yes. So as you can see, so 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade on the bottom, as they get older, they do tend to feel a little bit more overscheduled. And that makes sense because they tend to get busier as they move through middle school. But the majority of them either answered no or sometimes.
What worries me is that's their normal. That they don't know anything other than needs. So.
Right. So like we said, it is their perspective, but we're going to talk about some things about kind of trying to slow down our family schedule. Because we as adults have to reflect on this and think, okay, well, yes, if they think it's normal to be coming home at 8 o'clock at night and starting homework, we have to kind of take a step back and help them set some boundaries. Okay, so this actually comes from a website, Becoming Minimalist, and actually the author of this article was, a family guy, and he said one weekend it kind of struck him, it was a nice day, like on a Sunday, and his daughter was playing in the backyard by herself because he had to clean out and organize the garage, and his wife was inside cleaning the house. So, here it is on a weekend, they worked all week, and, their child's playing by themselves because they're busy doing things. So, it's actually an interesting website. They started to kind of downsize their stuff, because we spend a lot of time working to buy stuff, and then once we get that stuff, we're working to organize and clean the stuff and go through stuff. So it's an interesting concept, but some of the important things that I took out of the article was, like I said, think about where the motivation is coming from when you're planning activities. Think about kind of an ideal number of activities for your family, because it's going to be different depending on if you have 1 child or 5 children. You're probably going to be involved in more the more children that you have. Number 3, elevate the importance of family dinner time. We're all going to have those nights where we're picking something up on the fly and everybody's kind of fending for themselves and doing their own thing. But if at least a couple times a week you can truly sit down as a family, I think that's so important, because then you're having that interaction. You can talk about your day. We're going to talk about making that a technology-free zone, and really just connecting, because so many times we're going in different directions. So, you might be dropping this kid off at soccer and then this kid off at piano lessons. And yeah, you're spending some time in the car, but then, what does that time look like? Are your children on their devices, or are you guys having conversations in the car? So kind of, the time that you do have together, making that quality time, leaving space between events. Sometimes I think when we see open spots in our calendar, we're like, oh, what could we do then, But that's okay. Blank spaces on calendars are fine. Reducing your own personal commitments. It's okay to say no. Own less stuff, and leave room to add, because if you're truly scheduling like every minute of your day and something unexpected comes up, then that causes us to feel stressed, because it's like, we can't manage one more thing. We don't have time for one more thing. Okay, so what have you found helpful to achieve balance in your own life? Is anyone kind of comfortable sharing? I feel like this is something everybody thinks about and reflects on. So is anyone comfortable sharing maybe what has worked for your family, or maybe even something you're going to try as we head into the new year? Or for you personally? Yeah.
So I heard this from someone that it helps to give yourself permission to have, to read a book for a half hour or something like that. So I try to give myself permission. I'm not always very good at it. I don't do it as often as I want to, but I think that's
And not feeling guilty that you're laundry to be done, or, Anybody else want to share?
I heard from somebody interested in the point. We have 4 children, and the youngest, they're all in activities now. But the doctor said that 1 sport per season per child. They don't need to be in group sports. We're kind of violating that right now as we speak. So we're really critical, but with one of the children, but my husband's sports team. But yes, we try to shoot that, and it does help.
I've heard that rule too.
And then we try to, I try to think of it as they're taking turns, and maybe somebody's doing something now, or somebody needs us more, and the other 3 to go backward a little bit. And that's okay, they're learning from that.
And I think especially as they get older, the commitment to the sports gets bigger. So instead of maybe 1 game a week, it's like 3 practices a week, and then a game on the weekend. So even if it's just, 1 sport or activity a season, that can still still take up a lot of your time. Anybody else have?
I don't know if this is a solution, but I just think in our world today, because we keep our kids busy so that they grow, and so they don't fall into a deep dark hole of doing something that they shouldn't be doing. But I think what I find is like my kids don't even know how to handle downtime.
Being bored.
Yeah, they don't even know. And the first thing you do is take them to their break and start playing. And so I think it's like a huge problem. Your kids are in travel sports by the time they're 7 years old, right? And if they don't, they won't make the soccer team in high school. I mean, it's like a crazy amount of pressure we put on kids these days to just perform. And especially in a district like Hudson, where you do have a lot of overachieving kids who are gifted in many different areas. So it's a big stress in my opinion.
Is there anything that people can think that could kind of help alleviate that stress? And we're going to talk about stress a little bit later in the presentation, but anything you're doing to kind of help with that pressure with your own kids who feel like they do have to kind of start so early?
I place a high value. I place a high value on time when we are like playing a game or doing nothing. And when my kids say they're bored, I say that's terrific. That's a skill. You need to practice it. And I never try to fix boredom. Like I don't look at it as a problem. Look at it as like, oh, terrific. That's great. And then I have a junior, and I've just seen people burn out, and I've seen her quit a sport and go back, like, because she was like, I'm just not feeling it anymore. And then she did make the high school. Like, I didn't worry about it because I was just, I want the long term. And I guess the experience of having somebody 17, I've seen I've seen the crash and burn, like, around her. So that's how I was like, well, terrific. Like, really quit, terrific. And then she went back. So
She just needed that break.
yeah.
I love what you said, and I love the boredom response. I use that. But on Saturday mornings, I teach an exercise class, so everybody knows that I'm on Saturday mornings, and that truly is my mental health time. I say that during my class all the time when I see people like, and I say slow down, they're like rushing through routines because they gotta go. They're like, they're making their target list in their head, so the kids know that that's their time. Even if they're in a sport, we try to make sure the games that are on Saturdays are a little bit later so everybody can relax in the morning, whatever they want to do to just kind of get started. And it's the one day that we don't have to rush and we don't have to be somewhere right away. So because I see we were talking about the differences in our kids. I have one kid who's an overachiever by her own influence. I mean, of course we support her and doing great at school and sports and everything, but she just naturally is like really competitive and has her homework done halfway along the way home, and then the other one I have to tie her a chair to get started on one math worksheet, So it's, and I see that pressure too, just the way that she's in fifth grade. She's got one friend that they're always like, hey, what was your score on this? Really. But like just having those little bits and pieces, and we get excited when we have one day on the weekend where we don't have anything that evening, or like said about playing a game together. Like that's just like they'll never forget that, right? That kind of thing. And we do see that because and with our neighbors and everything, my friends never home. They always have soccer. But yeah, for sure, I support that balance 100%. It's easier said than done, but
Absolutely.
It's like so.
Yeah, but it's something if you're like thoughtful and thinking about it, you can kind of plan for down times or knowing like Saturday morning, nothing's getting scheduled. Yeah, and kind of keeping that time. Anybody else want to share?
Also started reading tonight. Kids not reading, but having them shut it down.
Yeah.
My son's obsessed with Fortnite.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about technology, but I think that's
Yeah, Fortnite is big in our house, since 7th grade. And I think that was always really great that way. It was tiring in the night. So someone had mentioned, he wants to stay up later because his friends stay up later. So I said, well, you can still stay up at about 8:30, just slow it down until 8:45, back off. And by 9 o'clock, bed, leave at 1:30. And it was really difficult.
But now that you've done it for a little, it's a routine, right?
Yes, it's routine. And his sister also has to do it, which is much easier for her, because she doesn't play football.
But I think that's good too, to model it. So like parents are reading, kids are reading, so you don't feel like you're missing out on something.
Phones are in the kitchen, phones are in the kitchen, and they're upstairs. And it's not perfect, but they're upstairs, and I can't even say that they are with their, they're upstairs and the phones are in the the books are bought.
You give them the materials to read.
And Fortnite's on.
No, I think that's great. Thank you everyone for sharing. So that's a perfect segue. So how to scale back your electronics? Because this is a big piece of balance too. For us as adults and for them as children, and their generation grew up with technology. But even, as adults, I think this is, again, an important piece to self-reflect on. And I had to do it a couple weeks ago, with my son. We use our phones for everything. So it's no longer just doing a phone call. We're answering emails and setting up play dates through texting and, buying Christmas presents on the internet. I mean, our phones we use for everything, smartphones. So, I was doing something and I don't even remember on my phone. And my son was going, Mama, look at me. Mama, look at me. Mama, put down the phone. And I was like, oh. So that was like a reality check for myself. And I think we all have to do that. We do have to balance what we're doing with technology. And we have to model that for the kids. Parents who use screens have children who use screens. We all have phones. We all have devices. Technology is here to stay, and that's okay. But having those times, setting aside, times that are technology-free, whether it is dinner time. I think that's so important to not have phones or technology on the dinner table, or reading time at night. I think that's great. Still having that common, it's no longer we have one computer in the family room, we know who's on it when, everybody has their own devices, but having a charging station, and I would really recommend putting it in your bedroom, because kids are sneaky and they'll get up and they'll grab it out of the kitchen or the family room, but at least having a common area where set a limit, a time like 8 p.m., 8:30, all devices go to the charging station. No discussion, all devices are on the station, charging station, and then they do have that time to kind of relax their brains so that they can go to sleep. Yes?
Can I do a reality check?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if anybody else finds this too. You said we do shopping and check emails. Well, my problem that I'm having is somebody will say, well, when do I practice tomorrow? You know what I mean? And I'm like, right?
Or a calculator.
Or a scout meeting, I'm like, I gotta look up. It's like not
checking the weather.
Shopping, but Mom, what do I need to wear today? I gotta look on the phone. It's like my only place to get the information that's necessary. I mean, it's not just that I'm, texting friends or emailing or shopping. It's like it's this,
everything's on it.
Right, that to even manage the family, so at dinner oftentimes it's very difficult because we discussed what's going on this week and this is, my memory is zero, so that's hard. I really have to look at that. I don't know if anybody else is finding that too or has solutions for that, but I send the family weekly calendar. I have a calendar that keeps track of every family member with their color code.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
Sunday night it goes to everybody.
Yeah, but then the changes. Right? I mean,
I just found out yesterday that my husband, or that we've got a basketball game in Elyria tomorrow.
so, you know what I mean? It's like,
Reality is a little harder to.
Absolutely, and I was reading an article yesterday, and so I was talking about that, how everything's on our phone, calculator, calendar, weather, And just kind of modeling, if you're picking up your phone to look at something, you kind of say it out loud, like, okay, well, let me check the weather. Let me, I'm going to look and see where your basketball game is. And then, and it can be a 5-second check and then you put your phone down. So then they know it's being used in a useful manner. And kind of modeling that, because like I said, technology here is here to stay. So we're not saying like, don't use your phone or put it away for the whole night, but just having like an hour a night, starting with dinner time. And you could even say, like, if they're asking questions, well, after dinner we'll check that. So kind of just carving out those small amounts of time to try to be technology free. I know it's easier said than done. I'm trying that at my own house as well. And then multitasking, so like when you're truly like trying to get something done. I know I'm guilty of it too, like you're constantly on your phone, like while you're watching TV or while something else is happening. And just trying to kind of set a little detox for yourself too, kind of taking a step back. For me, my phone has to be out of the room if I'm truly going to be away from my phone, and I have it on silent. Okay. So limit Fortnite play by round or time. I know Fortnite got brought up. Many of our students are playing Fortnite. It is a part of the social scene of middle school right now. But kind of letting them know ahead of time, like, hey, at 8 o'clock we're done with Fortnite, or you can play 3 rounds, and I know rounds can range from, well, I've read, I haven't played Fortnite, but it can range from a couple minutes to like 20 to 30 minutes. But letting them know, like, hey, you can play 3 rounds tonight, or like I said, just setting that limit. That can be really helpful. So we talked about this a little bit, but would anyone like to share how you limited technology?
We actually, well, first of all, we don't have television, so we have screens everywhere for Netflix or whatever, but, so I don't know if that counts, but our kids are allowed to what we call it media time. And they cannot be on any media on Monday or Thursday. We don't have it at all. Unless the only time we break that is like I sit on a fire. And if my husband owns his own business, so the kids have to be to that. They have to sit while I'm rehearsing for like an hour and a half. So I let them have their tablets. But other than that, we just and then kind of funny thing on the trying to spend quality time with your kids. I finally decided to, because my son, he's always like, how much before I like, I'm not a person at all. But I'm giving it a try. On weekends, when I do my one with him, I'm like, okay, 4 3. So I'm trying that.
Yeah, which is,
he loves that.
I mean, that's his interest, and so that's great. And then you know what it's all about.
Yeah.
I'm actually concerned, and I don't know if the rest of you are, how much technology has come into the school and how much time we're spending watching YouTube videos during class time. Either it's homework, looking up YouTube videos that I think, bringing it to school and then having it at home, it's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. And
I don't know if anybody notices that in our classrooms that, does anybody else realize that? Okay, so it's not. Okay.
And we have something on the computers with Go Guardian, so the teachers can log into that, so they can see like what the students are on in the classrooms, and then they can actually close out certain windows.
Well, no, these are actually where they're watching.
For an assignment or a research project.
Assignments.
Okay.
But also YouTube videos like Wikipedia, you don't know if you're getting the right proper information.
And technology has changed so much, and it's part of the world and it's part of the job, so we are trying to incorporate it and teach them, how to appropriately use it. And so there's different classrooms that will kind of talk about the different resources and sorting citing sources, that's what I mean. And how to kind of weed out all the information, but it is part of, our school kind of preparing them for jobs. But I know I was reading, I think it was the Center for Diseases, talked about the amount of hours. So right now, the average time spent in front of the screen for 8 to 10-year-olds was 6 hours, and 11 to 14-year-olds was 9 hours. And screen time is anything, so it's the Chromebooks, it's the phones, it's the video games. This kind of struck me.
I think that's low, to be honest with you. I mean, when I monitor my kids' phone, their Chromebook time, if you don't have that securely on your app, get it, because it's awesome to see what your kids are on and how much time that they're spending on it. So I think that's a low thing. Now, I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. So I think they're on it more than you think they are. And they're doing their Chromebook work, and they're on their phone, and they're doing their Chromebook work, and they're, you know, my one son has multiple monitors, so he's watching YouTube videos and, you know, studying for a test. So, I mean, our rule at our house now is we have a room that is our technology room, and that's where all our computers are. And they have to switch tables between their computers and their Chromebooks, and now they can only do their homework on their Chromebooks because I can so monitor so much better on their Chromebooks what they're doing. But I think one thing I've learned, especially from my 16-year-old, and it's very difficult for me, that technology is really part of their lives, and they personally, with some input from you, have to learn to balance. Because I mean, I've learned I can put every monitoring device, every rule, every what else on my 16-year-old, and he can get around it. So until he decides that he's going to balance and see the benefits of balance, then it really is, you know, you're kind of fooling yourself if you think that it's doing it. So teach your kid to, like, this is the positive thing about it. This is great. It is awesome. But, you know, this is what you've got to learn to do to be successful. And, you know, yes, you cannot play that video game until 2 in the morning and get up and take an AP class and think you're going to do well. But until you do crappy on that test, all the talking in the world doesn't make a difference. So
having those natural consequences.
Exactly.
Just to speak to what Jenny mentioned as far as screen times in the schools go, my bigger complaint than YouTube in the middle school is movies. You know, kids don't need to watch Frozen in school, you know, and watch the whole movie in school. I'm like, did you watch the whole thing? Yeah, watch the whole thing. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It can't be a movie about Thomas Edison. Or, I mean, exactly. You know, and I mean, I know it's considered a incentive or rewarding the kids for hard work, but it's such a waste of time. I can't understand it. So that on top of the Chromebooks, and you know, we're trying to monitor it at home, but I wish the school had put a moratorium on non-educational movies. I mean, there's enough educational movies out there, like whether it be, I'm sorry, I'm thinking even about you know, Seabiscuit, or you know what I mean, something that's historical fiction, or but they don't need to watch Frozen and Elf and all that stuff. So I'm sorry. Get off my soapbox. That's just my school screen time issue.
Well, I'm actually going to have to turn it over to Mrs. Strebe. I had, you know, we've had some interesting discussions, and thank you all for sharing. But I know we have a short amount of time left, and I think this is so important. We're going to get into stress and anxiety management. So I'm going to and like we said, this PowerPoint is, or Google presentation is going to be all online for everyone.
And I know some of you need to leave early, so feel free to do that. At any time, I'm a little under the weather, so sorry about my voice, or I'm being puberty. I wanted to do it. It's finally kicking in. So I'm going to talk to you about managing stress and anxiety. I definitely can feel it. You know, this is the time of year I think where we're all a little more stressed than usual. I have children. Oh, by the way, I'm the 8th grade counselor this year, so I have some of your children, and then your 5th graders will be mine next year, and then the following, you know, for those 3 years. My children are 21, 20, and 16, so I've done the middle school years with my daughters. My 2 oldest are doing exams this week for college, so we were using some of my strategies just last night. So the strategies I'm going to tell you about, I do use in my own life. I actually use a lot of them. And then I also have a relaxation group that we're doing here at the school, and I do them with the children. So this is not just talk, this is real life, and in practice I do these. So I do have a slide that shows you in our survey, we ask the students about how they feel at, their stress level in the day. And you can see as they get older, their stress level, averages a little bit more than the 6th and 7th graders. Older kids, more responsibilities. My 8th graders definitely worry more about their workload. They worry more about high school and what's coming to them. So those things that you are concerned about, they are too. So they feel them, but nice little bell curve in the 8th grade. There's a couple articles that I really liked and I was looking at. The one is the epidemic of anxiety among today's students, and I'll just tell you about the takeaways. There's links to everything I have on here, so I know we're going to be short on time. So the takeaways on these, that high achieving students feel a lot of pressure to succeed. So I think people sometimes forget, like our perfect kids, they put so much pressure on themselves. I have one just like that. She's a high achiever, and I'm like, for the love of God, don't get the A. Just move on. Who cares about a 4.0? I'm so like the opposite. I'm like, just live life. It's okay, calm down. So we have to remember sometimes our kids put their own pressure on. I mean, we know it's not all coming from parents. Sometimes the kids are, they're just putting themselves at this level, whether it's competing with their classmates in their own mind, or whether it's trying to get into their elite college that they're talking about in 6th grade, which some of them do. So we just have to remember sometimes to help, it's our job to help reduce that anxiety. One of the biggest takeaways, and I think some of you, I saw some of your reactions, already read this, is talking about social media and smartphones, and teens who spend 5 or more hours online a day were 71% more likely than those who spent only 1 hour a day to have at least one suicide risk factor. So around 2012 is when smartphones became really popular, and we saw a huge spike in depression, anxiety, and I definitely, as a school counselor, this is, I don't know, what year this is, 12, 13, whatever, of school counseling. I've been in education 20 years, definitely a huge difference in kids. Part of that is, we talk about social media actually makes us feel more isolated. We have, our kiddos are worried about being left out. They're seeing the perfect life presented on social media. How many pictures were taken to get that great selfie that they just woke up to, No. We all feel it. I know Mrs. Boyd talked about that we're finding our own balance. We're seeing, I went to the Akron Zoo lights this weekend. My daughter was singing in the choir. It was freezing. It was awful. I was like, I'm going to go inside, I love you, but I'll be back. It was terrible. It was 20-something degrees. But we do all these things, and I didn't post them on social media, but I saw a lot of other people did. But we all feel it. The kids feel it even more. They're at that age developmentally where they're trying to fit in. They're trying to fit in, and they're seeing a party they didn't get invited to, or that people were hanging out downtown they weren't included in. And that's hard. That's really hard, and that gives them a feeling of isolation, like I'm not included. You and I grew up in an era where we weren't invited to stuff we didn't know, or we heard about it later, like, oh yeah, okay. It wasn't pictures in your face about all the fun they were having that they posed for all these things. So it's really tough. So it's a really good article. The second one here, middle school misfortunes then and now. This was on Facebook. That's where I saw it. It's awesome. And I'm not going to go into full detail, but it basically talks about like a little day in the life of a kiddo named Brian if he was living in 2008. And then how this day would have been 2018. And it talks about basically, he had a mishap in school that would have been no big deal. Some kids saw it, laughed a little, and then, Mark goes to tell his friend about it, and he's like, you had to be there. Remember that we used to say that expression all the time, like, oh, you had to be there to get it. Well, 2018 comes along, it's caught on video. Before he even can handle it, the whole school knows about it. He goes home, he must talk to his parents about it. They're on their own devices. He's looking online to see how many likes this video got of his embarrassment, and the kid who took the video feels validated because he's getting all these likes at the expense of this other kid. It really made me go, oh my God, I say it all the time, I'm so glad I didn't grow up in this generation. I really am. Because we could have mishaps and it didn't follow us incessantly. you know? So I think it just is, it makes us aware that does cause our kids stress. It does cause our kids anxiety to know that, you know, almost every move is documented. So thinking about that, and I know we talked about some ways to reduce technology, but when we talk about, I think Chris maybe even said, teaching our kids how to use technology wisely also means how to use it in a kind way. Okay, so you saw that kid fall down or spill soup on himself. You don't need to post that. You don't need to gain likes by someone else's misfortune. So teaching our own kids that that's not how we become validated. That's really important. So it's a really great article if you have time to read it. I have one copy on each table because I wasn't sure if people were going to mosey in and see it, but we have the link online. So the next thing was a survey about what our kids use for stress relief, and we asked them, you know, what techniques do you use? So what I thought was really interesting, we did a separate survey for 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders, and they all had the same number 1, the same number 2, the same number 3, and the same number 4. So here were their results. Number 1, listening to music. Number 2, watching a video, so like a YouTube, sorry. YouTube videos, funny video clips. Talking with a friend, and physical activity. So do you notice what's missing? Mom and Dad. So on the hierarchy of middle school life, parents tend to move down the list. Between the grades, mostly talking to a parent or trusted adult was about 5 or 6. So that was pretty typical. So, but I thought that was really interesting, that all the same thing, and you'll notice that most of those involve technology. You know, listening to music, watching a video. Talking to a friend is most often through texting, Snapchat. It's not so much. They don't pick up the phone. Like I actually said that to kids, like, can you just call her? Because it's so hard to get the right emotion in that text. And they're looking at me like, lady, you're old. But it's true. So, you know, a lot of these things we use ourselves. You know, I like to listen to music. I like to sing in my car. That's how I like to de-stress. If you see me screaming really loud in my car, probably a rough day. But that's one that's definitely de-stressor for me. And we all do these things. I love going to movies, they know this. I'm a movie buff. I love silly movies. I love entertaining movies. Probably nothing that the Oscars would ever consider. Maybe Star is Born, that was a good one. But other than that, I really like to be entertained. I appreciate the kids do these things. And these are good outlets. We want them to have many options, many options. So that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about. So I'm kind of going to skip them because we're short on time. I do both. So there are lots of strategies. I actually do these with my students. So there's deep breathing exercises. Deep breathing is amazing. A lot of these things are actually being introduced into hospitals to help with pain management, to help with recovery from surgery or illness. So there's scientific evidence behind how positive of results these can give a person. So deep breathing exercises, I'm just going to rattle off a few things about how great they are. That they can lower your heart rate, improve blood flow, reduce inflammation. It's a natural pain reliever. Elevates your mood, strengthens your lungs, boosts your energy levels. There's many more, but that's just a few. So it's as simple as taking a deep breath in through your nose. Try to get your count up higher. The more relaxed you are, the longer you'll be able to inhale and exhale. And you're going to try to inhale through your belly. So we tend to inhale right in our chest, but you kind of want to fill your belly first and then your chest. And then hold it for a second or two, and then exhale. And you're going to want to get your count, like 5 seconds of inhale, 5 seconds. I'm so sorry, I didn't count this one. 5 seconds of exhale. We're going to do an activity here in a little bit, and I'm going to incorporate a couple things into one just for time. Progressive muscle relaxation is just that. You will tense your body, tense some muscle. I hold my tension in my neck, so I will tense my neck, hold it for about 5 seconds, up to maybe 10 seconds, and then let it relax. So these are things I teach my students to do, because you can do this in class and nobody knows. You can deep breathe, nobody knows you're doing it. You can do muscle tension and relaxation and no one knows you're doing it. You can tighten your muscles in your legs. Like right now I'm tensing my muscle in my leg. I don't look strange, nobody knows I'm doing it, and then I can relax. If I'm holding my tension in my arms, I can tense up my arms, and I can even still use my hands and nobody knows, but my upper arms are being tensed, and I can let them relax. It almost feels like a little massage if you kind of work your way through your body after you do this. So there's a whole link to that on here, so I definitely suggest that one. Aromatherapy, you've probably all heard of essential oils. Each of you have a scent on your table if you want to take a little sniff of that. There's going to be some that you love, there's going to be some that you hate, and that's something I tell my students all the time. You're probably not going to use all of these. It's giving you all a bunch of tools so you can find the things that do work for you. Some of you have lemon. Lemon is an uplifting scent. Lavender is very much a relaxing scent. So when you're feeling really anxious or stressed, the lavender is one that a lot of people like. Peppermint is very popular. Peppermint is uplifting. It actually helps your memory. So sometimes teachers will give mints to kids before the test because it actually can stimulate that. So there's lots of different uses. And if you click on this link, there's a long list of the best oils to be used for helping with reducing your anxiety or stress. You can put them on the pad of your feet. You can diffuse them. Different things. The peppermint, just don't touch your eyes after. It's a hot oil, so it will burn. But anyway, there's lots of different uses for that. Mindfulness is the new thing. Mindfulness, and you talk about being present, is all about being present in our moment and taking things as they are. So it's really kind of the opposite of like escapism. So it's being where you're at, it's taking things as they are, and being okay in that moment. Yep, I'm feeling stressed. I'm just going to just live in that moment. I'm okay. This is where I'm at. I try to do this a lot in my life, just being present, and that means I get rid of my phone. They know I'm not a fan of the phone at all, but I've really worked to not like be a slave to my phone. So if I'm at the soccer game, it's in my purse. I'm not checking it. So if you need to get a hold of me, I'll probably talk to you after the game if I even look at it again later. Like if I'm watching my kids, I'm going to be in that moment. It's really important to me as my kids get older and the time gets less and less with them, that I can just kind of be there and be present. But also doing that for myself, you know. Being mindful means being aware of those current experiences and not dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. Just right now, live in this moment. So there's a lot of really great body scans. The one that's listed first is a 3-minute scan. You can just kind of, it helps you relax 3 minutes. There's a link you can click on it that'll actually read it to you, or you can read it yourself, whatever works for you. Lots of games that you can do with your kids. I have a few listed on here that are linked that you can do to kind of get them in mindful and be present moment. And then there's some apps. There's an app for everything. There's a mindfulness app. Acupressure, I'm going to kind of skip ahead, is a Japanese technique where you squeeze different, with your thumb to get rid of worry, and you hold your point finger for fear and your middle finger for anger. That was easy to remember, and so on and so forth. But pressing your thumb and your hand for calm, in the middle of your palm for calmness. So these are things that researchers have shown. They've actually done this with nurses, and they've reported back that they experience much better control of their emotions, much lower stress levels, and so on and so forth. Again, linked here. The power of laughter, very much like deep breathing, because we tend to use a lot of breath when we laugh, is very important in our lives, so try to find the humor where you can. And then there's some apps on here. And then I'm going to do a relaxation activity with you to end our time, and we'll feel very relaxed when you leave. So I'm going to ask for your participation in this. It'll feel a little awkward at first, but just go with me, okay? All right. So
I just tried that Amazon
hold on, we're going to get past it. We're going to have some waves in the background. Okay. So I'm going to have you sit in your chair. So I want you to try to get comfortable. Sit however you feel comfortable. So you're going to relax your body by releasing any areas of tension. Allow your arms to go limp, then your legs. Keep your eyes open or keep them closed, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Feel your arms and legs becoming loose and relaxed. Now relax your neck and back by relaxing your spine. Release the hold of your muscles all the way from your head, down your neck, along each vertebrae to the tip of your spine. Breathe deeply into your diaphragm, drawing air fully into your lungs, and release the air with a whooshing sound. Breathe in again, slowly. Pause for a moment, and breathe out. Draw a deep breath in, and out. In, and out. Becoming more and more relaxed with each breath. Feel your body giving up all the tension, becoming relaxed and calm and peaceful. Feel a wave of relaxation flow from the soles of your feet to your ankles, lower legs, hips, abdomen, chest, back, hands, lower arms, elbows, upper arms, shoulders, neck, back of your head, your face, and the top of your head. Allow your entire body to rest heavily on the surface where you sit. Now that your body is fully relaxed, we'll allow the visualization to begin. Imagine you are walking toward the ocean, walking through a beautiful tropical forest. You can hear the waves up ahead. You can smell the ocean spray. The air is humid and warm. Feel a pleasant, cool breeze blowing through the trees. You walk along a path, coming closer to the sea. As you come to the edge of the trees, you see the brilliant aqua color of the ocean ahead. You walk out of the forest and onto a long stretch of white sand. The sand is very soft powder. Imagine taking off your shoes and walk through the warm white sand toward the water. The beach is wide and long. Hear the waves crashing to the shore. Smell the clean salt water and beach. You gaze again toward the water. It is a bright blue-green. See the waves washing up onto the sand and receding back toward the ocean. Washing up and flowing back down. Enjoy the ever-repeating rhythm of the waves. Imagine yourself walking toward the water, over the fine sand. You are feeling very hot. As you approach the water, you can feel the mist of the ocean on your skin. You walk closer to the waves and feel the sand becoming wet and firm. A wave washes over the sand towards you and touches your toes before receding. As you step forward, more waves wash over your feet. Feel the cool water provide relief from the heat. Walking further into the water, it's clean, it's clear. You can see the white sand under the water. It is pleasant, it is relaxing temperature, providing relief from the hot sun. You can walk further into the water if you wish. Swim if you want to. Enjoy the ocean. Feel more and more relaxed. You are feeling calm and refreshed. You walk back out of the water and onto the beach. Stroll along the beach at the water's edge, free of worries. No stress, calm, enjoying the moment. Up ahead is a comfortable lounge chair and towel just for you. Sit or lie down on the chair, or spread the towel on the sand. Relax, enjoy the sun, the breeze, the waves. You feel peaceful and relaxed. Allow your stresses to melt away. When you are ready to return from your vacation, do so slowly. Bring yourself back to your usual level of alertness and awareness. Keep with you the feeling of calm and relaxation, feeling ready to return to your day. Open your eyes, stretch your muscles, becoming fully alert. refreshed, and ready for your day. So I hope you were able to relax and imagine being in that moment. So I actually do this with my students. I do different guided imagery activities, and they do enjoy that one if it is relaxing. I did this the other day with my husband, and he fell asleep. So I was like, that works. I actually tried a couple different ones. He fell asleep on both. So lots of different options for our students as far as dealing with stress and anxiety. You can do these with your child. You can do these on your own, just for yourself, if you need those moments. We need to take them. It's important that we take care of ourselves. That's why when we're in airplanes, they have us put the oxygen on first, and then those around you. Because you've got to take care of yourself first, you can't help others. A couple different things just worth reading, worth listening to. So the worth listening are happy songs. They're hooked to elevate your mood, and then the sleep ones, there's some different sounds and music that go. They're just calming. So they're just some good ways to help relax yourself. So we will be here afterwards if you have any questions. We're really thankful for you all attending, and I know we went over a couple minutes. I appreciate you guys waiting. So thank you very, very much.
PTO, just wanted to thank the three of you so much. I know you put a ton of work into these every year. There's exhibits over there, and also last week we decided to do video because we had some parents that had to work and really wanted, so I know you guys love being videoed, and I appreciate you doing it. And also, poinsettia to our videographers, thank you very much for taking the time to video it so that any other parents can watch this. So thank you very, very, very much. Thank you all. For your kids, because there's like I think I'm the only person that ate anything off that table, so please take something home for an after school